Hey everyone, coming up on this Wednesday edition of Now, a new report comes out by CNBC showing Maine is one of the worst places to do business in.
Also, we've heard a lot about Amelia Earhart lately. Is there a new picture of her? Is there not a picture of her? Well, a man from Maine has been studying this for quite a while. He'll give us some answers.
Plus, a frantic call to the Auburn Police Department. Please come get this snake out of my car.
Yuck. This is News Center now.
Living and working in Maine, it's what drives our economy, keeps our state happy, but a new study shows just how much Maine is struggling to attract viable businesses from out of state. Hello everyone, I'm Amanda Hill.
And I'm Lee Goldberg. When Maine is pitched against every other state in our nation, we come in 46th for best states for business. Now, the annual CNBC study ranks states based on their competitiveness. That means who's bringing in the best employers, innovators, and moneymakers. Using metrics such as cost of doing business, education, and infrastructure, each state is ranked by category, and then an overall list is compiled, and Maine brings up the bottom.
Yeah, we came in 46th overall, just above Alaska, Mississippi, Hawaii, and West Virginia. According to the study, when it comes to quality of life, Maine is in the top 10, but we are dead last in the workforce category with a sparse supply of skilled and productive workers. Maine is struggling to attract big businesses or strong innovators. Now, employers aren't surprised to hear this statistic. From some of Maine's biggest businesses to the neighborhood mechanic, business owners feel the labor shortage everywhere.
It's been difficult. You put ads out, you're trying to find people.
Mark Paulin is just one small business owner in Maine facing an all too familiar issue.
The automotive industry is not the only one that's going to have a problem. Plumbers, electricians, right now we can still get these folks at a reasonable cost per hour. We're not going to like that 5 more years from now.
A lack of skilled labor stretches him and his employees.
There's a call for it. I mean, anything in the service industry, yeah, it's hard on your body. Sometimes I wake up, my hands are like this, and I got to move them back. But at the end of the day, I can feed my family, I can pay my mortgage. But yeah, it's definitely skilled, and people are going away from it. All that grease.
He says fewer people are going into trades and worries that will hurt his business and his customer service.
If I'm out there answering the phone and out there working on a car, yeah, it's going to be tough. I can't come out in the waiting room and get to know you the way I normally would like to, so you definitely you lose a little bit of that.
Now, workforce is one reason that Maine is near the bottom of the list, but for states that are attracting business, what are they doing differently? At the other end of the spectrum, it's Washington State. They're in first place. Now, they aren't far behind Maine in quality of life and are number 5 for workforce. Looking at the two states' economic profiles, there are some clear differences. Washington State has no corporate tax, no income tax, but they've also established themselves as a hub for new tech and green energy.
Adrian Stein spoke to CNBC's Scott Cohn about this study and how Maine could move up in the business rankings as expected. He said Maine needs improvement in the workforce category.
And part of it is because of productivity. And some of that is just due to the economy and what the state puts out, because we look at dollar output per job, we look at wages, we look at utility costs, we look at the cost of renting office space and industrial space, and that's an area, again, that Washington State needs work on, and cost of doing business in Maine, again, for the level of your economy, you're in the 30s for cost of doing business, in other words, the 30th lowest. So 32 actually for cost of doing business. So it's expensive there. Whether you address that through income taxes or otherwise is something for the policymakers to consider.
Now, the state is taking steps to ease the worker shortage in our state by allowing kids to start collecting a paycheck at a younger age. Lawmakers and Governor LePage say kids as young as 14 can hold a job down. A new labor law makes it easier for 14 and 15-year-olds to get work permits and repeals a rule that prohibited them from working at movie theaters and bowling alleys. It also clarifies the kinds of positions that they're allowed to take at amusement parks, bakeries, and hotels. Governor LePage has been pushing for these changes for years now, and the chair of the Labor Committee says it's the first time the idea has gotten such widespread support. Senator Amy Volk thinks it could help alleviate the seasonal worker shortage that so many businesses in our state are struggling with. But not everybody thinks that young teens would work for them.
This is making it easier for those in the tourism industry to staff up and then be able to delegate, some of those other tasks to their older employees.
Personally, for me, I probably would not hire somebody that young. 14 years old, that's 8th grade, that's 9th grade. I'd kind of like them to be at least through their freshman year of high school.
Now, lawmakers passed this emergency legislation so that teens can start applying for those jobs right now. Check the Maine Department of Labor for more guidelines on youth employment.
By the way, Maine doesn't just need workers. What employers are really looking for is skilled workers. And in one of Maine's most traditional industries, lumber and paper, businesses are trying to train their workforce in the most up-to-date technology. Maine's new mechanized logging operations program began this summer. It's run through the community college system. The goal of the 12-week program is to train the next generation of loggers on how to use the high-tech equipment. Students are learning the skills needed to start a career as an equipment operator, program coordinators, and students hope leveraging new technology will help the logging industry survive and keep young workers in Maine.
All the new technologies these days is unbelievable. I don't think that the public really likes the forestry industry, to be honest with you. I think they don't think very highly of it. A lot of people think that it's going nowhere, but I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
Coordinators say much of the technology used has also helped cut costs throughout the industry, which is a huge help.
Two of my kids worked at 14. They got the permits from the school, and they were accepted at their employer, and they were out there working. So
yeah, they're willing to do it.
They asked to do it, and I was like, great, don't ask me for any more money. So now I'm asking them for money. Speaking of asking people for money, hey, Keith's here. He's got all the money in the newsroom.
I asked you for money just a couple weeks ago at Peaks. Remember that?
I gave it to you.
Yeah,
remember?
I know you did.
Yeah, and then you expensed it and got it back.
Yeah, I owe you $20. That's true. True story. Let's take a look at what's going on right now. A couple of nasty thunderstorms out there. This was actually severe as it went over Sebago and towards Hollis, but you can see it fell apart in the last 15-20 minutes. Just a rain shower now. A few more showers and storms, though, developing to our west. So an active probably 2 hours or so before things settle down. Here's another line of showers and thunderstorms. Thus far, these have been garden variety. They have not been severe as they move through, but hail, one of the main threats, and straight line winds as well. To the north, in the mid-coast here, we're just looking at rain showers. That's been the case over down East Maine and northern Maine. Seems like most of the convection was well handled by the computer models, putting it down to the southern part of the state and the western part of the state as well. Notice by 8 o'clock, pretty much all of those storms are done. Tomorrow is going to be a wet day as showers and storms ride in from southwest to northeast. Much more consistent coverage of rain tomorrow compared to today. Most of the state will see those showers and storms at some point during the day, probably tapering off a bit during the overnight hours for a decent Friday. But guys, Friday's high temperatures, highs, probably stay in the 60s.
All right, thanks, Keith. Maine State Representative from South Portland is getting criticized for comments he made on Facebook threatening President Trump. In a Facebook post that contains explicit language, Representative Scott Heyman says President Trump would be a half-term president, especially if Heyman came within 10 feet of him. The chair of the Maine GOP is calling on Maine House Speaker Sarah Gideon to condemn the comments and tell her party language threats. Heyman issued his own statement today confirming he made the comments, saying he regrets his, quote, impulsive decision to post something aggressively sarcastic and inappropriate in a Facebook exchange with a childhood friend. Maine's Democratic Party would not respond to NewsCenter's requests for an interview about the matter.
Some of the world's biggest technological companies are uniting to show support for net neutrality. Now, that's been kind of a buzz phrase for the last couple of weeks, but what does it actually mean? Right now, it's against the law for telecom providers like Comcast or AT&T to speed up, slow down, or block legal websites, meaning a website can't pay AT&T to make their site load faster or make competitors load slower. Some representatives in the federal government want to roll back that rule, and they're getting support from big internet service providers. Some of the internet's most influential sites are taking a stand today during the Net Neutrality Day of Action. Reddit is showing a, quote, demonstration of sorts, showing how slowly a website could load if they just can't afford to pay internet service providers for faster service. All over Twitter, people are using the hashtag net neutrality to debate the subject. Twitter added the spinning wheel at the end of the hashtag to symbolize slower loading speeds. But major internet service providers, AT&T and Comcast, said that they lobbied against this FCC regulation, not because they want to effectively sell internet speed, but because it was a badly planned government regulation. We'll see if these protests sway any of the government leaders. Amanda?
All right, thanks, Lee. Still to come on now, Auburn's finest get an interesting 911 call this weekend. Come get the snake out of my car. We spoke with the officer who stepped up. Plus, what happened to Amelia Earhart? One man from Maine is trying to track down her plane.
All right, everybody, picture this. You're on the road. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining, windows are open, and the wind is blowing in your hair. And oh my God, there is a snake in the car. A woman in Auburn had that exact experience. I'm Katie Ortiz with your Social Stop and with the cop who saved the day. That woman called 911 in a panic. She told dispatch that she'd rather burn her car than get it out herself. I'm right with you there, girl. But for the fearless officer, Travis Bernies, it was just another day on the job. He removed the snake and released it into the wild unharmed. And it actually turns out that he grew up playing outside with snakes with his twin brother, making it look so easy to the rest of us.
I've had calls involving snakes before, but they ended up being like a necktie or a branch or something. So that's what I was expecting. And sure enough, when I show up, there's a snake coiled up in between the door and the car. A lot of people call the police for a lot of issues. I mean, that's what we're here for.
A lot of you had plenty to say online. Donna says a snake is a snake is a snake. Wouldn't burn my car, but I wouldn't take it out of myself either. Phobias do not make sense to others, but they are very real. Christina says she'd let her car go up in smoke. She ate snakes and spiders and all the other bugs. But some people are just a lot braver than the rest of us, like Jean Elliott Sheets. It's a dinky little gardener snake. I mean, really, shaking my head. All right, now this snake, though, slightly bigger, is raising some concern. This dad who uploaded this video to YouTube says his daughter loves watching TV with their 12-foot python, you know, just casual. The video has gone viral, but is also sparking an argument about whether a pet this size is safe. More specifically, when a pet this size does this. In the video, you can see the snake open its mouth, nice and wide for what appears to be a yawn. Many comments online say snakes yawn to stretch their jaws for a big meal, like that little girl. We asked the experts at Sparks Arc, and they say they don't quite know why snakes yawn, but they know it's not for that reason. They say snakes know they can fit their prey, so there is no need to flex those muscles. I'm just not about
now,
this snake situation.
I wonder if Officer Barnes would have run in to save that snake instead of the little snake. And if Travis looks familiar to you guys, because he's the twin brother of Troy Barnes, who played basketball at Embry-Little, went to UMaine. Now he plays professionally in Europe. So the Barnes boys chasing snakes, saving lives, one little 6-inch snake at a time.
We need more
I am so with that woman. I pulled into a gas station once because there was a spider crawling across, and there happened to be a cop in the parking lot, and I waved at him. And I'm like,
can you please handle this?
You asked law enforcement to get a spider out of your car.
Wouldn't you, Lee?
I would
if you
not.
have phobias are real.
It's the difference between us, I guess.
Phobias are real.
Okay. Yeah.
Coming up after the break, the search for Amelia Earhart's plane. A new History Channel special says she may have been captured by the Japanese, but what really happened to her? One Mainer wants to find out.
And Keith's coming back with that full forecast. There was a strange new twist to the History Channel's Amelia Earhart story that ran over the weekend.
Yeah, over the weekend, the program claimed that a newly discovered photo showed Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan, and claimed the two survived a crash landing in the Marshall Islands. Now there's new evidence that the photo in question was actually taken 2 years before Earhart and Noonan ever went missing.
Now, a Maine man got a chuckle when he heard about the new evidence because he's been studying this topic for decades.
Amelia Earhart's disappearance is really a fascination for so many people, and it's really hard to explain the intensity of it.
Ever since her plane disappeared in 1937, countless people have searched for Amelia Earhart, and there are even more theories about what may have happened to her. Dave Jordan, who lives in Kennebunkport, has been trying to find the answer to that question for the last 20 years.
This is some rust from the hull of the Titanic.
His company, Nauticos, is devoted to exploring the deep ocean, specializing in underwater navigation, search analysis, and at-sea operations. And Dave is very strong in his belief.
There's no doubt in my mind that the plane is in that region of the world.
This photograph came out of a top.
When Jordan heard about the History Channel's claim, his initial response?
When I heard that this photo was going to be aired on the History Channel, I was really not impressed at all. The possibility that it was Amelia Earhart in that photo, just from analysis of the photo, was no more than the possibility it was a lot of other people.
Even though Dave does not agree with the claims of the History Channel, he is in some way benefiting from them.
It just goes to show how compelling the story still is and how exciting it makes people, and I kind of look mostly at it from that angle. I look how much excitement this generates, and thanks guys for keeping the story alive, because that's helping us really in the long run.
And what if the Amelia Earhart questions never get answered?
But certainly finding Amelia Earhart would finish some unfinished business, and it would be pretty hard to top.
Now, I asked Dave, isn't there some value to having this never be settled? Because it will keep the debate going. And he said, listen, if we find it, whoever finds it, you're going to bring that plane up. And then that's going to open up a whole new thing. There could be all kinds of stuff to talk about in a huge exhibit. And I mean, so.
But mysteries are fun. You're right about that.
Yeah, I mean, just not knowing is kind of cool.
Like, we don't want to find Hoffa's body, right?
Right.
Same thing. Like, it's just.
The tune of Al Capone.
Like, whatever. Yeah, it's more fun this way.
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Keeps it interesting.
I don't know if Bigfoot and Hoffa are the same thing, but fair enough. We got some thunderstorms out there today. A couple of them were nasty. They've died out, though, along the coastline. Much to the chagrin of Jess and I in Portland, waiting for these storms to roll through. This was a severe thunderstorm before. Watch it disintegrate, though, as it gets towards the coast. It had some pretty good hail and straight line winds with it. We're waiting for reports for any damage out here over the Sebago Lake area. A couple more storms flaring up. They don't look all that promising, in my opinion. These storms look a little bit stronger here, again, heading in the same direction towards Sebago Lake. So if you were out before, came in, watch out, another storm is on the way. We've got more light kind of stratiform showers over the mid-coast and showers over northern Maine as well. Turned out to be most of the convection was over western Maine. I want to show you this. This is actually earlier today, but I think it's really cool. Look at this line right here coming out of Portland. Wait for it. Right there. That's the sea breeze front being picked up on the radar. Watch the sea breeze front interact with these thunderstorms and flare them up. It gives them a little bit more instability, upward movement, and actually increases those thunderstorms that became severe. That's kind of cool. We'll see it on the radar like that. Dew points nasty, 69 in Fryeburg, 63 in Portland. Notice, though, the drier air starting to work into down east Maine. Dew points in the mid-50s. They'll get here for us across the entire state by tomorrow. Tomorrow's a wet day, though. We stay in the 60s for highs. A lot of showers, some rumbles of thunder, some downpours in there. Not a pleasant day on the whole. Friday is a sunnier day, but it's cool. With a north wind, I think a high around 64, 65 is going to do it for most people, which is pretty cool for this time of the year. Eventually, we end up with a few showers on Saturday before clearing out Saturday night, and Sunday looks fantastic, as Sundays have the past couple of weeks. So here we are, the clouds, the showers. Watch the rain come in during the day on Thursday. Again, quite a bit of precipitation on Thursday before we settle down Thursday night. Friday is cool. It is sunnier than Thursday, but temperatures only in the mid-60s before more showers show up on Saturday. Take a look at this. 66, 64. Our average is 79. This is almost statistically our warmest time of the year. Typically, that's the last week of July, or in parts of down east Maine, interestingly, the warmest time is August. So it differs depending on where you're in the state. I see a heat signal next week, probably only a 1 or 2 day event, though, in the upper 80s, maybe around 90 degrees. So this is, again, this is exactly what we've seen for the past couple of weeks. It's funny how weather gets like this. Showers on Saturday, not a ton of them. Beautiful on Sunday, nice Monday, Tuesday, and then hot and humid again on Wednesday. So 60s, though, that'll be a big That's a big change.
That's a big swing,
That's a
although
big
it's kind of a
departure.
nice little break
I was
from
saying,
humidity.
yeah, open up the windows and.
I think it's okay. It's like
Cool.
January
Yes.
thaw in reverse.
Yeah, we'll take it. All right, thanks,
go with
Keith. Be right back.
All right, kids, yesterday we told you how coffee might help you live longer. Researchers at the University of Southern California found that drinking just 1 cup of coffee a day reduced the risk of early death by 12%.
Keith said he was a little curious about that stat, so today's brain drop is somewhat of a verify.
It's a deep dive into the health of coffee.
Not all studies are created equal, so I took a look at this one. Got to the actual document. That's the first thing you want to do. You don't want someone's opinion of the study. You want to see the actual study. Let me show you a couple of things that I noticed on it right away that were positive signs. First and foremost, if we could bring the document up, that would probably be helpful. There we go. Who funded it? Okay, it was not funded by Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks. It's funded by the National Cancer Institute and a couple of other institutes that are looking at how cancers develop in people. That's a good sign. It is not going to be influenced by where the money's flowing from.
No ulterior motive.
Right. You know, and typically most good scientists can't be influenced by that anyways, but it's better to have the money come from a solid location. The other thing to look at is sample size. Some studies drive me insane. I see them on morning shows, and they'll say, a new study found, and I go back and look, and it's like 30 or 40 people. That's not a good sample size. Well, this also passed the test of a huge sample size. In fact, they didn't go out with the intent of doing this. They took another study that had, as you can see, 229,000 men, 173,000 women, and then they just backdated it. They had them giving nutritional logs about a lot of different things, and coffee was one of them. So they went back through this huge database, and they've got a lot of people to draw from. So that's also a positive sign. So what's the bottom line here? Well, they did find a correlation between how much coffee you drank and certain kinds of death. Not all kinds. Interestingly, cancer was the one kind they didn't find a positive link towards, meaning you weren't reducing your cancer risk by drinking more coffee. But here's what's called a hazard ratio. Let's go back real quick, guys. Hazard ratio basically means if you're 10 times more likely to die from something, the hazard ratio would be 10. In this case, 0.9 means you'd be 10% less likely to die and 12% less likely. As you can see, the sweet spot, at least in this study, is 4 to 5 cups, and it can be decaffeinated.
A day?
Yes, but it doesn't have to have caffeine in it. That's very important because that much caffeine could be a problem for a lot of people. Then the benefit seems to go back down 6 more cups. The last part of this, if we can, again, the caffeination doesn't matter, but the key here is it's association right now, not causation. They're not sure this is the reason people are living longer. There are other arguments that could be made. Maybe people who drink coffee are more likely to get up, work out, all that. So they can't remove all of that, but it's a start.
All right, News Center at 5:30 starts right now.